Welcome to the world of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening.
Jack Hastings had never felt more alive than at this very moment, standing on the launch pad of the United Earth spaceport, gazing up at the sleek shuttle that would take him to Althea. His fellow passengers, a diverse group of scientists and diplomats, buzzed with a shared anticipation, though none perhaps felt the gravity of the mission quite like Jack did. "Pretty impressive, isn't it?" said a voice beside him. Jack turned to find Dr. Emil Larson, a renowned biologist whose work Jack had followed since his university days. "It's incredible," Jack replied, his eyes still fixed on the shuttle. "Feels surreal to actually be here after all the preparation." Emil chuckled, adjusting his glasses. "I know what you mean. I've been on similar missions, but first contact scenarios? They're a whole different ballgame. You ready for what comes next?" Jack nodded, his mind racing with thoughts of alien languages and cultural nuances he was about to discover. "As ready as one can be. It's the cultural aspect I'm most eager about. To communicate, to understand. It's what I've trained for." The two men boarded the shuttle, finding their seats among the other specialists. As they strapped in, a young engineer named Marco D'Angelo introduced himself from the adjacent row. "First time off planet?" he asked with a grin that revealed his own excitement. "Indeed," Jack responded. "I guess it's pretty obvious." "Just a bit," Marco laughed. "Don't worry, you'll love it. The departure is smooth. It's the speed that gets you." As the shuttle's engines began to hum, signaling imminent departure, an announcement came over the intercom, instructing all passengers to prepare for launch. The cabin lights dimmed, and Jack felt the gentle but firm hand of gravity as the shuttle eased off the ground and pierced the Earth's atmosphere. The initial thrust pushed him gently back into his seat, and he exchanged a look of exhilaration with Emil. "Here we go, Jack," Emil said, his voice steady despite the rumble. "Next stop, Althea." The journey through space was less eventful than Jack had imagined. He spent most of his time in the observation deck, talking to Emil and Marco, learning more about their past missions, and sharing his own expectations and hypotheses about the Althean language and social structure. "I think the key will be in their social cues," Jack mused one evening, as they watched the stars streak past. "Every gesture, every expression will tell a story. I just hope I'm adept enough to interpret it correctly." "You will be," Emil reassured him. "You've got a keen eye for details. Remember, it's not just about understanding them, but letting them understand you. Mutual respect goes a long way in these exchanges." Marco nodded in agreement. "Plus, we're all here to support each other. It's not just your responsibility to make this mission a success. We all play our part." As Althea drew nearer, the shuttle's captain invited Jack to the cockpit for a first glimpse of the alien planet. The world that awaited them was breathtaking. A tapestry of vibrant colors and swirling clouds, continents dotted with glittering lights indicating civilization. "Look at that," the captain said, pointing to a particularly bright cluster of lights. "That's where we're heading. The Althean Central Hub. Word is, it's as bustling as New York City used to be a century ago." Jack felt a surge of excitement, mixed with a hint of nervousness. He was about to step into a world completely alien to him, to engage in exchanges that might alter the course of human-alien relations forever. "Thank you, Captain. I can't wait to start." "Good luck, Jack," the captain replied. "Make us proud." As the shuttle descended towards the glowing hub of Althea, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that his life was about to change in unimaginable ways. He was ready for the challenge, ready to delve into the heart of Althea, eager to learn, and perhaps, in the process, to teach as well. The shuttle touched down smoothly on the landing pad located at the outskirts of the Althean Central Hub. As the hatch opened, a rush of alien air filled the cabin, crisp and tinged with a scent that reminded Jack of the ocean mixed with something sweet and floral. "Smells like paradise," Marco commented, inhaling deeply as they stepped onto the platform. Jack smiled, his senses alive with excitement. They were greeted by a delegation of Altheans, their tall, slender forms draped in flowing garments of vibrant colors. At the forefront was a woman with luminous skin and large, expressive eyes, her hair shimmering like liquid silver under the planet's twin suns. "Welcome to Althea," she said, her voice musical and warm. I am Mirela, your liaison during your stay here. Emil stepped forward, extending his hand. Dr. Emil Larson, biology. It's an honor to meet you. Mirela nodded gracefully, touching her chest with her right hand and then extending it towards Emil, a gesture of greeting they had been briefed about. Emil mimicked the gesture, and she turned to Jack. And you must be Jack Hastings, she said, her gaze steady and curious. Yes, that's me. Linguistics and anthropology. I'm thrilled to be here, Jack replied, following the greeting ritual. Mirela smiled. I've read your work on intercultural communication. We are eager to learn from you, as much as you are from us. They were then escorted through the bustling streets of the central hub. Buildings with fluid architecture rose on either side, their structures harmonizing seamlessly with the natural surroundings. Markets spilled over with goods and foods in hues Jack had never seen before. This place is incredible, Jack murmured, his head turning in every direction. It's a lot to take in, but you'll get used to it, Mirela assured him, leading them into a building that spiraled upwards like a giant shell. Inside, they were shown to a conference room where refreshments were served. The drinks were a deep violet, emitting a gentle vapor that cooled the skin when inhaled. As part of our welcome tradition, we share the Galara drink. It symbolizes a clear mind and open heart, Mirela explained, handing each of them a glass. To clear minds and open hearts, Marco toasted, and they all drank. The flavor was an intricate dance of sweet and tart, unlike anything they had tasted before. Now, Mirela began once the formalities were over. We have prepared a schedule to help you acclimate and begin your work. Tomorrow, Jack, you will join me at the Linguistic Harmony Center. We believe you'll find our language archives fascinating. I'm looking forward to it, Jack said, eager to delve into the heart of Althean communication. Emil, you'll be with Dr. Verena. She's leading our research in xenobiology. I believe you two will have much to discuss. And you, Marco, Mirela continued, will visit our engineering sector. The technology we use for environmental sustainability might interest you. Each assignment resonated perfectly with their respective fields of expertise, thought Jack appreciatively. As they concluded their meeting, Jack lingered behind, hoping to discuss more about the Althean language structures. Mirela, if you have a moment, I'd love to hear more about your phonetic system. I've noticed multiple tonalities just in your greeting. Mirela's eyes lit up with interest. Of course, Jack. Althean language is tonal, but with a complexity that is tied deeply to emotional expression. Let's take a walk in the Harmony Gardens. It's the perfect place for such discussions. As they strolled through the verdant gardens, Mirela spoke of the nuances of their language, each tone and its linkage to emotional states and social context, her hands moving expressively as she described each detail. Jack listened intently, his mind already racing with ideas and theories. This was more than he had hoped for, an immediate plunge into the depths of Althean culture, guided by someone who not only understood it but was also eager to share it. Their conversation stretched long into the evening, under the light of the setting twin suns, marking the beginning of what Jack sensed would be a profoundly transformative journey. Jack's days began to fall into a comfortable rhythm as he immersed himself in the language and customs of Althea with Mirela's guidance. Each morning, they met at the Linguistic Harmony Center, a sprawling complex dedicated to the preservation and study of Althean dialects. Today, as they walked through the center's holographic archives, Mirela pointed to a series of glyphs floating in the air. These symbols represent the foundational concepts of our philosophy on existence, she explained. Jack studied the glyphs, trying to mimic the pronunciation Mirela demonstrated. It's fascinating how visual your language is. It's almost as if you're painting with words. Yes, our expression is deeply interconnected with our art and culture. To speak Althean is to weave imagery with intent, Mirela replied, her eyes reflecting pride in her heritage. As they delved deeper into linguistic nuances, Marco joined them, his curiosity piqued by their discussion. I heard you guys from across the hall. This stuff is incredible. It's like your language is a form of art. Mirela smiled. Indeed, Marco. Would you like a quick lesson? I'd love to, Marco said, eager to learn. The trio spent the morning exploring basic phrases, laughing at Marco's attempts, which, though clumsy, were earnest. In the afternoon, Emil arrived with fresh data from his xenobiological studies. "I've discovered something unusual about the flora here," he shared excitedly. "The plants not only thrive on sunlight, but seem to communicate through bioluminescent signals at night. That could explain the nightly glow we see in the forests," Jack said, intrigued. "Exactly," Emil continued. "It's a potential breakthrough in understanding their ecosystem. I was hoping Mirela could help translate some of the local botanical texts." "Of course," Mirela agreed. "Let's set up a session tomorrow. This collaboration could provide valuable insights for both our worlds." Their discussion shifted to plans for a joint exploration trip to the bioluminescent forests. Jack was thrilled at the opportunity to witness this phenomenon firsthand, and they all agreed to make the trip the following week. Later, as the suns began to set, casting a golden light over the city, Jack and Mirela decided to take a walk in the nearby Harmony Gardens to relax after a long day. "The gardens at dusk are particularly beautiful," Mirela noted as they strolled among exotic, fragrant blooms. Jack took a deep breath, enjoying the peace of the gardens. "Mirela, I've been here a few weeks now, and every day I learn something new and astonishing. How do you keep track of all this knowledge?" Mirela laughed softly. "We grow up with these stories and lessons. They are part of us, as much as the air we breathe. But tell me, Jack, how does it feel to be so far from Earth? Do you miss your home?" Jack paused, considering her question. "I do miss it, sometimes fiercely. But being here, learning from you, experiencing all this, it's a rare privilege. My perspective on what it means to be human is expanding every day." Mirela nodded, understandingly. "It's not easy, bridging two worlds. But I believe that understanding each other's cultures enriches us, makes us more compassionate and wise." Their conversation flowed seamlessly from culture to personal aspirations, each sharing dreams and fears. Jack found himself opening up about his life back on Earth, his hopes for the future, and his growing attachment to Althea. As they returned to the center, Jack felt a profound connection not only to this new world, but also to Mirela. Their bond, built on mutual curiosity and respect, was becoming the foundation of a deep friendship, or perhaps something more. "Thank you, Mirela, for making my transition here so enriching," Jack said as they parted ways for the night. "It's my pleasure, Jack," Mirela replied, her smile warm in the fading light. "I look forward to our adventures ahead." As Jack walked back to his quarters under the twin moons of Althea, he felt a contentment and excitement that he hadn't experienced in a long time. Tomorrow promised new discoveries, and he was ready to meet them head-on, with Mirela by his side. The Cultural Festival of Althea was an event that marked the peak of the Althean calendar, celebrating the planet's history and diversity. Jack, together with Emil and Marco, stood amidst a bustling crowd, each alien face a canvas of the planet's rich heritage. "Today, we celebrate the unification of Althea's 5 continents," Mirela explained, her voice brimming with excitement. "It's a day when we put aside our differences and revel in our shared identity." The streets were lined with vendors offering exotic foods, handcrafted jewelry, and vibrant textiles. The air was filled with music from strange instruments, creating melodies that seemed both alien and strangely familiar. "This is incredible," Jack said, his eyes wide with fascination. "The music, the colors, it's all so overwhelming." "You should try some of this," Marco suggested, handing Jack a skewer filled with a sizzling, aromatic substance. "It's a traditional festival dish." Jack took a cautious bite and was surprised by the burst of flavors. "That's delicious. What's it called?" "It's called kireth," Mirela answered. "Made from the roots of jath trees, found only here on Althea." As they wandered through the festival, Emil, who had been chatting with a group of local botanists, joined them with a grin. "I just learned about a plant that sings when the moons are full. Can you imagine that?" "I'd love to see that," Jack laughed, the joy of the day infectious. Soon, they approached a large square where a crowd had gathered for the traditional dance performance. "You'll enjoy this," Mirela said as they found a spot with a good view. "Dance is an important expression of our history and emotions," The dance was a mesmerizing display of fluid movements, the dancers' bodies telling stories of ancient wars and peace, of hard times and prosperous eras. As the performance ended, the crowd erupted in applause. "Would you like to try?" Mirella asked Jack, her eyes teasing. Jack hesitated, looking at the intricate steps of the dancers. "I'm not sure I can keep up, but why not?" Mirella led Jack to a smaller circle where festival-goers were dancing more casually. She began to teach him the steps, her movements graceful and patient. As Jack stumbled, she steadied him, laughing. "You're doing well," she encouraged. "It's all about feeling the music." With each step, Jack felt less self-conscious and more absorbed in the rhythm and the presence of Mirella. The music and laughter around them seemed to fade into the background as they moved together in sync. "This is fun," Jack admitted, finding his rhythm. "Thanks for convincing me to try." "It's my pleasure," Mirella said, her face lit by the festival lights. "It's a joy to share this part of our culture." As the night drew on, the festival continued with stories told by the elders of the community. Jack, Emil, and Marco listened intently as tales of Althea's first settlers were woven through the night air, each story highlighting the trials and triumphs of the planet's past. When the tales ended and the crowd began to disperse, Jack felt a profound sense of connection, not just to Mirella, but to Althea itself. As they walked back, Emil clapped Jack on the shoulder. "I think I've learned more about Althea tonight than in all the weeks we've been here." "It's been an eye-opening experience," Marco agreed, his voice full of wonder. "Yes, it has," Jack said, his thoughts on the dance with Mirella, the stories, the shared laughter. Tonight was truly special. As they parted ways for the night, Jack's mind replayed the festival's sights and sounds, the warmth of Mirella's hand in his as they danced, and the stories that seemed to stitch the very fabric of Althea together. Tonight, he felt closer than ever to understanding the heart of this alien world. After the festival, Jack found himself reflecting more on his feelings towards Mirella. The dance had sparked something deeper within him, a connection he could no longer ignore. He decided it was time to talk to Emil, who had become a friend and confidant over the weeks on Althea. They met at a quiet cafe in the central hub, a spot they'd come to favor for its serene view of the city's silver-lined waterways. "Emil, there's something I need to discuss," Jack began, stirring his drink nervously. "It's about Mirella." Emil looked up, his expression turning serious. "I've noticed you two have become close. What's on your mind?" Jack sighed, choosing his words carefully. "I think I'm developing feelings for her. It's more than just admiration or friendship. I'm not sure what to do about it." Emil nodded thoughtfully. "Mirella is a remarkable individual. But remember, Jack, relationships between humans and Altheans are uncharted territory. There could be complications." "I know, and that's what worries me. I don't want to jeopardize our mission here or our personal relations. But every moment I spend with her, it feels right, like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be," Jack confessed, looking out at the passing Altheans. "Have you talked to her about your feelings?" Emil asked. "Not yet. I wanted to get your perspective first. Maybe I'm just caught up in the moment, the novelty of this place," Jack said, seeking validation. "Or maybe you're genuinely falling for her," Emil suggested. "Sometimes we overthink feelings. They're not always meant to be dissected, just felt. Why don't you talk to her? See if she feels the same way." Encouraged by Emil's words, Jack decided it was time to have a conversation with Mirella. They arranged to meet in the Harmony Gardens, a neutral place filled with tranquility. As Jack approached, he saw Mirella standing by a luminescent pond, her figure reflected in the calm waters. "Mirella, thank you for meeting me," Jack started, his heart racing. "Of course, Jack. What is it you wanted to talk about?" Mirella asked, her tone gentle, sensing his unease. Jack took a deep breath. "I've been doing a lot of thinking since the festival, about us, and I've realized that I have feelings for you. Feelings that go beyond friendship or professional admiration. I care about you deeply." Mirella's expression softened, and she looked away momentarily, collecting her thoughts. "Jack, this is unexpected. I have great respect and fondness for you, too. But we must consider what this means. Our cultures, our responsibilities. I know it's complicated, and maybe it's foolish, but I had to be honest with you, Mirella. I needed you to know how I feel, Jack said, his voice earnest. Mirella reached out, taking his hand in hers, her touch warm and reassuring. I am honored by your feelings, Jack. And I must admit, I have also felt a connection, something special between us. But we need to think carefully about what comes next. Yes, of course. We'll take it one step at a time, Jack agreed, feeling a mix of relief and anxiety about the uncertain future. They spent the rest of the evening walking through the gardens, discussing potential implications and the steps they could take. The conversation was difficult but necessary, marking a new phase in their relationship. As the moons rose high, casting a soft glow over the gardens, Jack and Mirella agreed to explore their feelings discreetly, giving themselves time to understand the depth of their emotions without disrupting their missions. Walking back to the city, Jack felt a sense of peace. Confessing his feelings hadn't solved everything, but it had lifted a weight off his shoulders. Now, it was up to time and fate to decide the path ahead. In the weeks following their conversation, Jack and Mirella's relationship grew deeper as they continued to explore the complexities of their feelings amidst their ongoing work on Althea. They managed to find time between their assignments to spend together, each moment adding a layer of connection and understanding. One evening, after a day spent at the Linguistic Harmony Center, Mirella invited Jack to join her for a walk along the Viridian Cliffs, a scenic locale overlooking Althea's vast ocean. The cliffs at sunset are a sight to behold, Mirella said, her eyes reflecting the golden light. Jack, eager for some quiet time with her, readily agreed. They made their way to the cliffs, the setting sun casting long shadows on the path. As they walked, they talked about everything from their daily discoveries to their dreams for the future. I've been thinking a lot about Earth lately, Jack shared, looking out over the water. What I miss, what I don't. It's strange, but being here with you, it feels like I'm forming a new kind of home. Mirella smiled softly. Home is where the heart finds peace, Jack. Perhaps you are discovering a new peace here. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Jack felt a surge of emotion. Mirella, there's something truly magical about this place, about you. Every day shows me something new, something beautiful. Mirella turned to him, her face lit by the fading light. And I, too, have found joy in our time together. You've shown me a new perspective, a new way to see my own world. They found a spot at the edge of the cliffs, watching as the stars began to twinkle in the dusky sky. The air was filled with the scent of blooming night flowers, adding a sweet fragrance to the moment. Mirella, I've never felt this way about anyone, Jack confessed, his voice low. It scares me a bit, this intensity. But I wouldn't trade these moments for anything. Mirella reached out, touching his cheek gently. Nor would I, Jack. It is rare to find a connection like ours. In a spontaneous moment, driven by the beauty around them and the depth of their feelings, Jack leaned in and kissed Mirella. The kiss, soft and tentative at first, deepened as they both responded to the years of built-up emotions. After a moment, they parted slightly, their foreheads resting against each other. This feels right, Jack whispered. It does, Mirella agreed, her breath warm against his skin. They sat together on the cliff, hand in hand, watching as the first stars appeared. It was a moment of truth, a silent acknowledgement of their deepening bond. Later, as they made their way back to the city, they discussed what their relationship meant and how they would handle it going forward. We need to be cautious, Jack, Mirella said, pragmatic yet tender. Our cultures, our responsibilities. They haven't changed because of our feelings. I know, Jack replied, squeezing her hand. We'll navigate this together, carefully. Whatever happens, I want to honor both our worlds. As they reached the city, the lights twinkling in the growing darkness, Jack felt a mix of apprehension and elation. This new relationship was uncharted territory, filled with potential risks and immense rewards. Back at his quarters, Jack lay in bed, replaying the day in his mind. The kiss at the cliffs, the honest conversations, the shared laughter. It all cemented his feelings for Mirella. He was in uncharted waters, but for the first time in a long time, he was excited about the journey ahead. Jack awoke the next morning to a message from Emil, inviting him for an early breakfast at the Central Eatery. He accepted, eager to share the developments in his relationship with Mirela. When Jack arrived, Emil was already seated, a platter of local fruits spread out before him. "Morning, Jack. How are you today?" Emil greeted him, sensing a subtle change in his friend's demeanor. "Good morning, Emil. I'm doing well, actually." "Better than well," Jack replied, a smile creeping into his voice as he took a seat. "I take it things went well with Mirela then?" Emil asked, handing Jack a piece of a sweet-smelling fruit. Jack nodded, his smile broadening. "Yes, they did. We had a great time at the Viridian Cliffs last night. It really feels like something special is happening between us." "That's wonderful to hear, Jack. But I also know that look," Emil said, eyeing him knowingly. "You're wrestling with a decision, aren't you?" Jack sighed, the weight of his thoughts evident. "Yes, I am. Mirela and we're serious about each other. It's reached a point where I need to consider the future more seriously. Staying on Althea, potentially giving up my life on Earth. It's a lot to think about." Emil listened intently, then spoke thoughtfully. "It is a significant decision. But remember, Jack, the ultimate reward in life often requires great risks. Giving up your humanity, in a sense, for an alien bride. Well, it's poetic, isn't it?" Jack chuckled softly. "Poetic, yes. And terrifying. But when I'm with her, it feels right. Like this is where I'm supposed to be." "Then maybe that's your answer," Emil suggested. "Sometimes, the heart knows what the mind struggles to accept." Their conversation turned to the practical aspects, what Jack's decision would mean for his work, his family, and his identity. "How will you manage the transition if you decide to stay?" Emil inquired. "I've started discussing it with Mirela. She has connections within the Althean governance. They're open to the idea of a human integrating more permanently," Jack explained. "There are precedents of Altheans adopting off-world customs, but nothing quite like this. It'd be a first." "And what about Earth?" Emil asked. "Your family, friends? That's the hardest part. I'll have to make arrangements, communicate with them. Thank goodness for interstellar communications, right?" Jack tried to jest, but the gravity of cutting his ties with Earth was not lost on him. "It won't be easy, Jack, but it's clear you've thought this through," Emil responded, supportive yet realistic. After breakfast, Jack decided to spend the day at the Cultural Exchange Center, trying to immerse himself further into Althean life, seeking signs that he was making the right choice. As he walked through the exhibits, each display of Althean history and achievement made him feel closer to Mirela's world. Later, he met with Mirela. They sat in a quiet garden, discussing Jack's thoughts and fears openly. "Mirela, I'm considering staying. For good. For us," Jack confessed, looking into her eyes, searching for her reaction. Mirela took his hands in hers, her expression serious yet filled with warmth. "Jack, that means more to me than you can imagine. But it's a huge change. Are you sure?" "I'm as sure as I can be," Jack replied. "Being with you, here, it's changed me. I feel a purpose, a belonging that I never quite felt back on Earth." "Then let's do this together," Mirela said, her voice firm with resolve. "Let's make a new life, here, on Althea, together." As they walked back to the city, hand in hand, the stars beginning to dot the twilight sky, Jack felt a profound sense of peace. The decision to stay was not made lightly, but it promised a new beginning. For Jack, the ultimate reward was not just about being with Mirela. It was about embracing a new life, a new identity, on a world that had shown him unimaginable beauty and love. The day of Jack and Mirela's union ceremony dawned clear and bright, with the twin suns of Althea casting a gentle, warm glow over the city. Jack stood by the window of his new home, looking out at the landscape that had become his world. Beside him, Emil adjusted the collar of Jack's ceremonial robe, an intricate garment gifted by Mirela's family. "It suits you," Emil commented, stepping back to take in the sight. "You look like you truly belong here." Jack smiled, a mix of nerves and excitement playing at the edges of his expression. "Thanks, Emil. It feels right, somehow. I never thought I'd be nervous again about starting a new chapter, but here we are." Emil clapped him on the shoulder. It's a big day, but you're ready for it, Jack. Outside, the garden was set for the ceremony, adorned with Altheian flora whose colors burst vividly against the backdrop of the city. Guests began to arrive, a blend of human colleagues and Altheian friends, each one part of the journey that had brought Jack to this moment. As the ceremony began, Jack stood at the front, watching Mirella approach down the aisle, her own robe flowing behind her, a stunning tapestry of Altheian craftsmanship. Her eyes met his, and in them, he saw the future they were about to embark upon together. The officiant, an elder of Mirella's community, began the ceremony with a traditional Altheian blessing, his words echoing softly through the garden. Today, we witness the union of two souls from distant worlds, brought together by love and shared destiny. Mirella stood beside Jack, taking his hand. Together, they recited vows that they had composed, promises that bridged their worlds and cultures. I vow to honor and cherish our differences, to learn from them, and to build with you a life that respects both our worlds, Jack said, his voice steady and sure. Mirella's vows were equally heartfelt. I vow to be your partner in all things, to support your dreams as if they were my own, and to create a home with you that is a haven for all who seek peace and friendship. After the vows, they exchanged rings made from Altheian gemstones, symbols of the planet that had become Jack's new home. The officiant pronounced them united, and the crowd erupted in applause, the sound mingling with the music that began to play, vibrant and uplifting. The reception that followed was a lively affair, with Emil, Marco, and other friends from Earth mingling with Altheian guests, sharing stories and laughter. Jack found himself overwhelmed at times by the goodwill and joy that surrounded them. As the celebration continued into the evening, Emil pulled Jack aside. You've started something wonderful here, Jack. Who knows how many will follow in your footsteps? Jack looked around at the faces, human and Altheian, smiling and talking together. I hope many will. There's so much to learn from each other. So much good that can come from just understanding and respecting each other. Later, as the guests began to depart, Jack and Mirella stood together, watching the night deepen over Althea. Jack felt a profound sense of contentment. The worries and uncertainties of the past months dissolved in the joy of the day. Are you happy, Jack? Mirella asked, her voice soft in the quiet of the evening. I am, Jack replied, turning to her with a smile. Today feels like a true beginning, not just for us, but maybe for all of Althea and Earth. Mirella leaned against him, her head resting on his shoulder. A beginning made possible by love, she murmured. Jack wrapped his arm around her, pulling her close. Yes, a beginning made of love and a whole universe of possibilities. As they stood together, the future stretched out before them, vast and uncharted but full of potential. It was a new horizon for Jack, for Mirella, and for the union of their worlds, under the starlit sky of Althea.